Hello, everyone. This is Sherry Greenhouse, Managing Partner of CRM Exchange, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webcast where we are going to discuss how to build new roads to greater productivity and efficiency with QA and analytics. So we have two presenters for today. We have Cliff LaCourciere, VP, CallFinder, and Cliff is a very successful business leader and technology entrepreneur with more than 20 years of experience creating, building, and growing markets for both existing and new product categories. He leads the sales team and directs the development and execution of the company's product development and marketing strategy. And he has an extensive knowledge of speech analytics and in the software as a service industry. And any questions at all that you can think of in this topic, we're going to go and ask Cliff at the end of the presentation. And you're also going to hear we have a great case study for you from Frank Diaz, Director of Operation RoadVantage, and he brings to RoadVantage a huge knowledge of the insurance industry and contact center operations gained through his work with organizations like Allstate, USAA, and General Casualty. Frank came to RoadVantage after 8 years with Dell, and as Director of Global Learning and Development, he led teams supporting the contact center and field engineer operations. His expertise in contact center operations, along with that technical and customer management skills it's crucial for his team's success. So any kind of how did you build this? Why did you do this? What did you look for? All those questions will be directed to Frank. So we're going to begin, and I am going to turn this webcast right over to Cliff.
Thank you, Sherry. And I also want to thank you in the UK. It's 7 p.m. your evening, so thank you for taking time out of your evening. As Sherry pointed out, this webinar will be available in a little over a day, and there'll be a PDF of the slides. But I also want to invite you to reach out to me directly anytime if you have questions about speech analytics, whether it's a live engagement or you just have some questions about how the technology works. So today's plan is we're going to talk about agent behaviors and those behaviors that affect quality assurance and the customer experience, and how we can use analytics to inform that quality process and quality monitoring process to improve your contact center efficiency and productivity. And there's a lot more than that, right? I mean, improving efficiency and productivity are important, but they give rise to much more important things like growing your company's brand in the marketplace, keeping your customers happy, growing your business, and competing better in the marketplace. There's a lot behind those things. Obviously, evaluating agent performance with scorecards and transcription data, not just scoring your agents, but seeing what your agents and customers are saying. And last, and I think you'll agree with me, most important, Frank is going to go over a case study to give you a real-world view into how speech analytics has helped RoadVantage improve their operations. So jumping right in, agent behaviors can affect 14% of their performance. In other words, if you look at why they're not doing as well as they possibly could, it's typically a lack of training. And this data comes to us from Frost and Sullivan and Aberdeen Group. And that's a big deal. I mean, how do you help agents get better and improve their behavior? Well, currently, supervisors will listen to a small sample of phone calls, find areas where the agents need improvement. But, that comes with its own set of challenges because only listening to a small number of phone calls is really not going to give that supervisor or the business, for that matter, a really great view into how that agent's performing. So, obviously that begs the question, how do you do that? And it's with speech analytics. Speech analytics helps not just the business, but the supervisor on the ground with his agents improve their business with scorecards. So what's a scorecard? So envision in your mind's eye your classic sort of QA form, and everybody has a different one, but they all have the same objective, which is look at or listen for specific things that the agent should be doing. A good greeting, are they handling objections? Are they well-trained in using your system so that they can resolve the reason or help the customer that's calling? And what scorecards do is instantaneously give the supervisor and the business a view to what's going on in those calls. And Frank is going to give some terrific examples of how that works in the real world. So I'm going to ask people to enter in the chat box. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to answer this. But what would you guess the annual increase in company revenue could be when agents are engaged and satisfied? So they're well trained, they understand how to execute their job. So I'll give you a minute or so, but I do invite you to enter in your answers in the QA box to see what you think that effect could be. Okay, getting a couple of answers here. That's pretty low. Okay, that's kind of high. All right, so 26%. I mean, I don't know about you, but and again, this data is from Frost & Sullivan in Aberdeen. But a 26% in company revenue if you can have your agents perform better and keep your customers happy. And I guess intuitively, if you kind of back up from that and go, well, how is that? Well, if your agents are doing the right things, clearing the transaction and helping the customer, then they're going to be happy. So that really makes intuitively good sense. So moving ahead, how do you do that? So the simple fact is that when you're trying to help customers, or I should say, when you're trying to help agents, that side of the transaction, do better, it's really all about training. Easy to say, sometimes difficult to do, but again, it gets back to speech analytics providing the supervisors and the business a crystal clear view across 100% of phone calls, exactly where those agents are not doing so well, where they need help. And by addressing those specific issues, like praising them when they did good. Hey, great greeting, great opening, great, objection handling. You kind of did a little, weren't doing so well and, handling some really tough questions when the customer is getting aggravated. But you'll be able to see those immediately in the agent scorecard and how they're performing. So you can help them do better. And there's some other benefits to that as you go through this. Like, for instance, as the business changes, let's say one of the business cases would be, marketing effectiveness. Well, those things are dynamic. They change all the time. So do your scorecards. So with speech analytics, it's not just a one and done. It's a learning process. You execute your existing processes in automation. As you're applying that automation and training your agents and how to help your customers better, your scorecards are going to evolve too. So speech analytics can help you, not only do an extraordinary job training your agents and keeping your customers happy by understanding what they're happy and not so happy about, but those can evolve and change as your business does. So how do you do that? So obviously it's all about analytics, but you have to start with gathering the data. Analyze a statistically significant sample, that's a mouthful, of sample calls. And really what that means is the economics of listening to 100% of your phone calls, you can't do it. It just makes no business sense. So what speech analytics can do is, there's technologies, there's speech engines at the bottom of the technology stack that automatically index and transcribe those calls. And then there's questions that sit on top of that are basically your reports and scorecards. And because speech analytics is it's an application, it's a machine doing the work for you, it's consistent, it's applying the same rules, it's asking the same questions of your agents and your customers, and it's doing it for 100% of the calls. So with speech analytics, you're really virtually guaranteed, if you're asking the right questions, to understand what's going on in the business. The other is, and I've already touched on this a little bit, is implement scoring reports to calculate metrics. Again, a process that starts with automating your existing QA and CX processes and scoring and making those into automated reports. You can also capture sentiment. Speech engines today, CallFinder being one of them, will not only look at how your agents are performing and how your customers are responding, but you can actually look at the sentiment of the agent. So we're looking at the customers. So you're actually looking at how they're responding to your agents in a very graphic way. So the technology for speech analytics has come such a long way that it's not just simple reporting. You can actually see how your customers are responding to the agents. It's pretty remarkable. And of course, management of the data. Data is great. It's informative. It helps you manage your business better, but you have to act on it. And the beauty of it is that speech analytics, it's like a bright neon sign. It helps you pinpoint and train agents to their skill gaps. The example I used earlier, the agent is really great at the greeting, they're great at handling the transaction, but they get a little bit, nervous or shaky, or just they don't know what to do when a customer throws them a curve. You'll see that in the agent scores. You'll drill down when you're having a one-on-one session with them or when the supervisor is, and more than likely, maybe you'll evolve the training a little bit to handle an objection that you had not trained the agent to before. So it's really remarkable. It's not just the beauty of helping them perform better, but actually understanding, what your customers are saying at the same time. So improve the customer experience? Absolutely. Remember, there's two sides of the transaction. There's the agent talking to the customer. When customers are calling in, there's just a whole body of research that suggests, and for the most part proves, that when customers call in, they just want to get off the phone. They're busy. They got a problem. Help me. Don't transfer me 4 or 5 times. Don't tell me you don't know. Help me, solve my problem for me. And speech analysts can help identify when those become issues. And of course, increase revenue opportunities. And that can not just be for, for an outbound sales or an inbound sales or marketing application. It can be for support, because you know what? When a customer calls in, they got a problem, you convert that customer, you solve their problem, they'll buy more from you. You'll increase their lifetime value. So there's some remarkable sub-benefits. So, and obviously, well, maybe not so obvious, mitigate churn. So just a moment on that point. Mitigating churn, all of you that are on this, listening to this webinar right now know that agent churn is a big deal. It's expensive. I think the average in the U.S., so I apologize, UK, I think we're $1.2 to the pound or $1.3 to the pound. But bottom line is it's really expensive to train agents. And to the extent that you can even move the needle just a couple of percentage points, with average churn being, 8 to 10% or so per month per contact center, if you can capture where agents need help, you're not going to stop all of them from churning. Some, like all of us, some of us aren't cut out for some jobs. We're great for others, but agents not suited to a job, and they're just going to churn anyway. But most people want to succeed. Most agents, like anyone else, want to succeed. So if you can help them before they get frustrated and just don't show up for work, you can mitigate churn. And that's obviously a remarkable savings for the business. So some of the other things, leveraging the data, some best practices, training. I know I've sort of drilled on scorecards a lot, but I can't emphasize that enough. That one or many reports that you might have for finding agent skill gaps will not only help your agents perform, it'll keep your customers happier, and it will mitigate churn as we suggested. Responsiveness, that's one that is very, very business specific. Typically, responsiveness is around average handle time, which is a great metric. That's obviously one of the key metrics, that and first call resolution and others, to help the contact center perform better. But maybe sometimes average handle time, getting it too short, is not the right metric. It is a good metric, but maybe there's other things that might make that call go longer and make the customers happy. So responsiveness is an important metric that you can measure with speech analytics and, again, improve agent performance and the customer experience. Compliance. I won't spend too much time on that, but I will suggest that compliance is a broad category, and it could be as simple and as important as your agents following a specific call flow to hit all the important transaction points, or it could be something that's related to regulatory compliance. Are there specific verbatims that the agent is supposed to read or speak to make sure that they're in compliance with the law? So broad, but speech analytics can point you in that. And of course, to enforce a consistent customer experience to improve the lifetime value of the customer. And I know I touched on sentiment a little bit earlier, but speech analytics has come such a long way. I thank Sherry, by the way, at the beginning. She said I have a long history in speech analytics. It's true, since 2002. And it's come so far. You really can get a vision into what your customers are feeling. Are they angry? Are they frustrated? Is the call going well? On a line-by-line basis, agent customers. So I urge you to take a deeper dive into these applications when you have time. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Frank. And Frank, I don't think needs any more introductions, but I think this is the most important part of the webinar because it really gives you a view to how a customer in real time every day is using speech analytics to improve their business. So thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Cliff. So good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be with you and share my story of how successfully we've been able to leverage CallFinder and speech analytics to enhance our operational efficiency. It's already been explained. I'm Director of Operations charged with support services here at RoadVantage. I started with RoadVantage when we were a very small company. One of the key challenges, and I'll expand on that as we go on, was how do you grow the business? How do you scale the business and ensure you have the kinds of agent behaviors that you're looking for, and you sustain that going forward. But let me give you a little commercial about RoadVantage. RoadVantage operates in a very specialized environment. We're headquartered in Austin, Texas. We operate in a highly competitive market, which makes customer service a key differential in driving the successful venture. The company was founded in 2011. It's led by a cadre of leaders with extensive car dealership experience. We offer aftermarket warranty contracts, including mechanical warranties, products to dealerships throughout the U.S. We entered the market to reset customer expectations with a unique and innovative suite of products coupled with state-of-the-art telephony platform to reach high standards of customer service. From a upstart company, we've grown rapidly into one of the most progressive providers of F&I products, or finance and insurance products. This past May, we were recognized for the third year in a row with the Dealer's Choice Award for excellence in products and services. And I can unequivocally say that being able to leverage and utilize CallFinder, we started using them in 2017, has enabled us to really focus on delivering consistent efficiency as we scale the business to a higher level. I've listed three key challenges that when Cliff and I sort of started on this adventure back in I guess it was early 2017, I was concerned about, and I would speculate that these are probably some challenges or pain points, as I like to call them, that you might also experience. So I've listed these three challenges, and let me ask those of you out watching the webinar today: can you relate to these? Do these resonate with you? Why don't you take a few moments and let us know if this is common to your particular call center. Give you a moment to kind of respond to that. It does seem like the majority of us often face these similar challenges, and I'll go into a little more detail as we go on to really explain when I'm talking about inconsistent processes. But basically, when you're a new startup company, there's a lot of policy and procedures that have to be developed. How do you develop those? How do you infuse those into the call center? And then how do you sustain and grow those as the organization grows? But these are probably very similar kinds of things that you see. Script adherence during interactions. My particular the operation that we deal with, we are highly regulated, so it's a claims experience. There's some adjudication regulations that we have to follow. We sort of define these things as operating within guardrails because we want to be sure that when we adjudicate the claim that we follow strict guidelines because of the regulatory issues. We also needed we had an inability to really identify, understand pain points, and I wanted individual agents to be able to do that. So that's kind of where we're kind of wanted to set the landscape for you as we go forward. So the things that our particular goal was, we wanted to improve agent compliance. We wanted to increase the consistency in how we deliver information and process claim services. We also wanted to identify pain points. We deal with a lot of small, medium to large dealerships, car dealerships, and so we needed to understand what those expectations were going forward. Measurable results that we wanted to address was obviously reduce the call handle times. And we were able to do that by about 14%. So the key thing was, as we grew the organization, we wanted to be sure that as we added more folks to the organization, that the ramp times were stable or improving, and that was really critical to allowing us to really keep that call handle times in place. We wanted to not necessarily, we knew we were going to have to process more approvals, but we again needed to do that in a very effective way so that we were able to get through that because first-time resolutions or first call resolutions were critical to us. Again, we wanted to address confidence within the agent so that they could handle those claims coming in appropriately, efficiently, and also compliance with our adjudication processes. We needed a way to control and reduce the average handle time without compromising our strict adherence to required adjudication process. And CallFinder gave us the tools we needed to automatically assess the interaction and identify where the agents were going off course while on a call. We wanted again to control the length of the call. It was critical, and CallFinder allowed us to do that. Some of the things we also wanted to do was to gain insights and to hone our skills, our scripts and messaging points. We worked very closely. The one good thing about CallFinder was they are able to provide a technical expertise that will partner with us to define some of these the scripting, because though we didn't want people to just have canned scripts going forward, we did, again, as I keep talking about, guardrail to guardrail. We wanted our agents to operate within a certain set of parameters. We were able, working with our partners at CallFinder, to sort of hone those scripts, identify what key message points we wanted to complete, identify key fields and data that needed to be obtained when we had that interaction with the customer, so that we could complete the call within that first interaction with the customer. That allowed us to handle more approvals faster in a shorter period of time. We set the expectations clearly. So CallFinder allowed us to address specific individual bases, handle on a one-to-one coaching, allowed for proper sequencing of questions. That was really, really critical, because particularly for new folks that come in, we have a list of 12 different products, and there's different questions that you need to ask the person calling into the claim. We wanted to synchronize all those, but have a script that sequenced the questions correctly so that we could get through the conversation, obtain all the required information, and quickly end the call without having the caller come back because they didn't understand what was the expectation. This resulted in improved consistency across all agent interactions. We do a lot of unified coaching. We wanted to use these behaviors and things we learned from the scorecards to really improve our coaching efforts, and that also allowed us to do that. We increased claims processes. We also spent a lot of time looking at Google reviews, and we encourage our customers to complete those Google reviews. We've been running a 4.8 out of 5 in Google reviews. We think that's a direct relationship to some of the things we've been doing on the upfront when we ramp up new employees. And again, utilizing and leveraging what we've learned from CallFinder, it really does improve the ramp times to our employees, and then we can make adjustments accordingly as we go forward. Some measurable results. And I want to talk a little bit about a department campaign, but we just recently won the Dealer's Choice Award, which is an annual award. This is the third year that we've won the award. We wanted to create an incentive for agents to remind our service advisors that we take our claims reports to complete a survey that they all get and identify who their favorite provider of F&I products are. By doing that, we were able to have an internal campaign. We used that as an incentive. We used a scorecard to measure how many times the agent actually ended a call by soliciting or reminding a customer to complete that survey. We won that award again this past May. We're very proud of that. But the idea was to create an awareness that the voting was underway. We challenged the team to end every call by reminding them to complete that. It made for a fun campaign. We created some fun incentives around that. The results came in. We won the report, and we think our efforts paid off. That particular program ran from late March through the end of April, and in May, we were recognized for the Dealer's Choice Diamond Award for the most innovative F&I products and customer service levels in this past year. So we're really proud of the fact that that occurred. So I want to talk a little bit about some recommendations because I spent a lot of time. There are a lot of speech analytic companies out there. I looked at a lot of them, and including our telephony platform is InContact. InContact offers a couple of speech analytic applications, but did not fit my particular requirements. I was looking for I had a particular set of criteria that I was looking for. I wanted to partner with someone that offered an easy integration with our existing technology. I think if you've been in this business for a long time, and I've been in the business for a very long time, call recordings are critical, but as Cliff has already alluded to the fact, you can't listen to every call. You want to kind of isolate the kinds of calls you want to listen to, and then sort of hone in on those behaviors that you need to change or adjust or modify so that you're delivering consistent service on an ongoing basis. So I needed to find someone that would make the integration with our current existing platform very easy. And we did. I was very skeptical about that. Cliff assured me that we could do that. It did not take. It was a very painless process. We got to it, and now all of our calls are recorded. We wanted to take a look at our initial first notice of loss calls because we felt that if we could really make the improvements in those initial first calls, we could minimize the number of follow-on or status calls that came thereafter. And that worked for us very well. We wanted to also be able to customize the solution, not just an out-of-the-box or off-the-shelf kind of solution. Again, I've alluded to the fact that we're a very specialized kind of company. Our calls average about 12 to 15 minutes, and we needed to customize the scripting, what we wanted to hear from between the customer and the agent, because in the adjudication process, it's really critical that you hit all the key elements so that you don't have to call back or the customer doesn't have to call back because they didn't understand something was going on. So that was really critical to us. And then we wanted meaningful results and support to coaching. And I think I want to talk a little bit about that because I think in most cases agents get very engaging when you give them a scorecard and you say, you didn't quite do that quite as like we'd like to. So the scorecards are easy to read. We were able to get them. I mean, we get them on an ongoing basis. We have these interactions one-on-one. The agents can have the ability to confirm or challenge the results of those results, or the scorecard gives the coaches, and in this case we use supervisors to do that, can have that interaction so that it makes it as meaningful as possible. And the other thing is we had a managed implementation and training program. So I think I can't say enough good things about CallFinder because, again, I was a skeptic. I didn't have a lot of overhead to sort of manage on an ongoing basis this process. We hired someone to work on a part-time basis to help manage that. But the ability to have a dedicated partner from CallFinder help us get through the implementation phase and help us sort of ramp up so that we could utilize the scorecards as efficiently as possible was a real plus. And so, the last bullet here is it allows for sharing of reports. We rather than just waiting for these reports to come out, CallFinder has the ability to sort of push these reports out to individual agents so they get a chance to sort of take a look at it. It keeps everyone informed. We can spot trends now, and the other good thing is we get good input between the agent and the coaches when we have these coaching sessions, so we can pinpoint and kind of go from there.
All right. Thank you so much, Frank. So I'm going to just spend a couple of moments on the next couple of slides, sort of, for those of you that are masons, so masons to have this thing they call pointing the bricks. Literally, the wall is laid, but they put in a little bit of mortar to kind of finish it off. And that's what I'm going to do in the next couple of slides, sort of point the bricks, if you will. So in a nutshell, speech analytics and CallFinder is really easy to consume, and not to take away an instant of Frank's words in terms of getting started. It's work, but CallFinder does help. We do dedicate an analyst to be really, in every real sense of the word, a staff analyst to help you get up and going. And then once that's done, there's still ongoing support from that analyst because they really are a partial FTE for your organization. But delivering those scorecards and reports so that your supervisors can clearly see on a daily, weekly, monthly basis how their agents are performing and give them great pointers or very focused pointers about where they can help the agents improve. Sentiment analytics, again, in my experience, almost 16 years in speech analytics, sentiments come a long way. And when you couple that with the words that the agents and customers are actually uttering, it's very, very informative. And we use a couple of different technologies. In fact, we use two different technologies. We use a technology that transcribes a call, so you can not only report what's there, but if you need to and want to, and I'm sure you will, you'll want to drill down not just on the call, but actually see what was said. It is software as a service, so IT folks love that. The support debt is almost zero, and I thank Frank for pointing out that we were there to help make the integration easy. CallFinder's platform can integrate with any telephony, whether premise or cloud-based, to get those calls scored. And it does scale. And again, I think that's perhaps not unique to us in terms of scaling, but that's really what SaaS provides. Infrastructure can be set up in the cloud as ours is, that as you add agents or as your call volume fluctuates on a seasonal basis, we can very quickly ramp and seamlessly ramp. I mean, we have customers whose call volumes triple during certain times of the year. And it's completely, undramatic from the customer's point of view. And of course, a dedicated support team. Again, I thank you, Frank, for the kudos to our team. It's a process and a group of people that we've invested heavily in to make sure that the analytics applications are used, and not just used, but to the best benefit of the business. Now, I'm just going to touch on this just a little bit. This is just to really bring it all together. And I'm sort of zooming back up to the top of the information stack, if you will. These are by no means the only, but these are the most, I would say, often used business cases for speech analytics, agent training and coaching. I hope you agree that we've covered that topic pretty well. Script and regulatory compliance. I think Frankie did an excellent job highlighting how that application because F&I being an insurance being highly regulated, you're able to manage your agents to those compliance issues. Business insights, that's a little bit more ethereal, but very real with speech analytics. In other words, with business insight, when the business, whether it's marketing or whether it's a supervisor or senior level manager, is looking at those call transcripts and sentiment, they will want to drill down on, what's causing a transaction to go slow, what's causing a customer to be elated or not so elated about your product or service. And those will help the business improve because you'll have pretty much instantaneous visibility into how those transactions are performing. Increased revenue opportunities. I mean, I think it's like any business. If you put processes in place like speech analytics to measure how the business is performing and how customers are reacting to your agents and your business, you will find more revenue opportunities. Now, a little bit of a commercial. I hope you agree, we've given you some very useful information about how speech analytics can help you in a very real-world environment with RoadVantage. And I would offer you the opportunity to, on August 13th, we're going to take a deep dive. In fact, we're going to do a demonstration. All of what we've talked about today, you'll get to see in real life on a production CallFinder platform to see how, gaining visibility into all the customer interactions and how, of course, called scorecards and reports, and being able to read what agents and customers are saying alongside sentiment analysis will help you improve your business.
So thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Frank. That link was truncated a little bit. So if you look at where it says chat on your console, I've chatted out the actual link. If that's a little long, I understand. So on the survey, when you fill out the survey, if you want us to send you a direct link just to make it a little bit easier for you, just make a note on the survey that you would like a link to that demo. Also, you can always find all of the sessions listed on CRM Exchange under Webcast, so you can find it that way. So we are going to now go to our questions. And, Frank, I'm actually going to go to, I grabbed the slide deck back from you because there were a lot of people that were here when the challenges, and a lot of people were kind of excited. It's probably the wrong word, but could empathize with you with all of these challenges, especially number one I saw come up a lot with the processes and the coaching. So can you just take us through a little bit what you were doing before and then how that really revolutionized the coaching process for you?
Certainly. Well, part of the issue was we sort of had this shotgun approach in terms of how we were doing the coaching. So we were growing. We were adding more people. We needed to scale and by training people quickly, but also in a way that they were going to deliver on a consistent basis. the level of service. So we had the shotgun approach. We were listening to phone calls, but they tended to, when we coached on a call, was really when things went awry. And then we were looking at first notice of call, which is a conversation when the claim is first submitted to us, which is a longer call. And then also looking at status calls, which were the follow-on call because you didn't get what we said you were going to get when we made the first call. So what we wanted to do was a consistent process was, hey, I wanted really to concentrate on that initial phone call. If I can really take a look at, I don't want to look at status calls just yet, and we're still not looking at status calls. We do look at them, but we really leverage CallFinder to really focus on that initial phone call. So we get that first call, we create a loss report, we set the expectations, we obtain all the key data elements. That's what I wanted to focus on. Now, there's still going to be deviations from a script, but we can address those in a good coaching session. So we were able to, based on the scorecard results, isolate those individuals or those trends, whether and I got to kind of go back because when we took a conversation, we actually dissected the conversation again with the help of CallFinder. So we had things as simple as the greeting, the determination of the damages to the vehicle, the cost associated. So we dissected each segment of that, and then make sure that we were asking the right questions in the right format, and then completing the fields accordingly. Again, this sort of gives us, it's very strategic and very, I guess I use the word surgical in the terms that, if someone didn't end the call correctly, we could coach to just that aspect. We have we've white labeled a lot of our clients, so the way we greet the initial caller is really critical, how we say it, what words we use. So again, we were able to isolate segments of that call, identify trends, and that made it a lot easier for our coaches, our supervisors, to really hone in on those behaviors that we wanted to change or modify or make sure it happened. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so the agents, once it was more of an, automated process, did they think it was more fair to them because it wasn't as, well, I think you should do this, or, it was a little, like it was just right in front of them what they should be doing, and they can see it very clearly, and it helped them. What did the agents think through this process?
The agent initially, agents by nature, they all want to get 100% on any audit that they get. And we weren't getting 100%. And so, there was some tweaking. Again, CallFinder provided some technical support so that we could hone in the process, because the process was, we went through a couple of iterations, to be quite honest, to sort of get that right. But it was critical. We needed to hone and tweak the scripting, if you will, as clearly as possible. The challenge we have when you do this is we can say, the agent will say something, and we assume that the person on the other side is going to respond a certain way. That doesn't always happen. So what the coaching allowed us to do was really isolate those instances when the scripting had to deviate slightly, and what other avenues could we insert to sort of get us to that overall objective, which was get the correct information, fill in the fields in the call, set the right expectation, so they don't call us back with a status call to find out what's going on. In our operation, there are going to be some inconsistent or some various policy and procedures because we operate in different states. Certain dealerships want us to operate a certain way, so we were able to sort of, okay, this is how we're going to handle this particular group of dealerships in this state. Here's how you process it. So again, it sort of cuts through all of that, all those distractions, and sort of focuses on the key issues so that we can get through the process a little quicker.
Okay. Were there any results that you were surprised by, or did you go in with a set of expectation and say, "Yep, that's what I thought"? How did that work?
Yeah, I mean there was some surprises, and again there was some validation of the things we suspected. Um, the key is, people would say, "Well, I did ask that question, or I did cover that issue," and of course, when we sit down and listen to the phone call, it turned out, hey, you didn't do that, and so, you don't want it to be a "I got you, I catch you," but it does slowly modify some of those behaviors so that we are, again, I keep talking about guardrails, so that we get people operating within that somewhat narrow guardrail within those parameters, so that we're consistent in delivering that service.
Okay. Now, were you able to measure the difference in the customer's experience? Because it looks like one of your challenges is, what's their pain point? What do they need? And then take the difference between before and after.
Yeah, well, again, the challenge for us was we were growing, and we wanted to sustain a level of delivery of service that we had enjoyed when we were very small. So when you start to scale, you start dealing with new processes, new kinds of issues, and so you've got to identify those things quickly. And I don't have a percentage in terms of how we did that, but we knew that a key pain point for our service advisors was they have a customer come into the dealership. They want a issue resolved rather quickly, and so the service advisors calling us, they want an answer. Is this an approved claim? How much are you going to pay? We had to get through that process, and we knew that speed to or approval rates and how quickly we got to those approval rates were the key. That's what we needed to focus on, but we still needed all that information, because what we didn't want to do was, hey, call the service advisor back and ask for follow-on questions to things that we should have asked the first time. So we had to find quicker, better ways, a consistent way to do that. So that allowed us to have, in terms of how we obtain the data, very smooth, seamless process. At the end of the day, it turned out to be a pretty simple process. We just needed to get everybody following or playing off the same sheet of music, if you will.
It sounds like there was an increase in first contact resolution a little bit, because they're now following something, so they're complying more. That I think you mentioned a couple of times, they didn't have to call back.
Right.
So then that would make the customer less aggravated, that let alone they need work done on their car. Now everything's smoother for them as well, is I think what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some key performance measures. One of those was speed of not just the speed of the answer, but how quickly we arrived at an approval rate. That was really, really critical for the service advisors. They can't spend 20 minutes with us while a customer's standing in front of them to find out if a windshield is going to be replaced or repaired. So yes, we run some stats. We were looking at, hey, we want claims approved within 10 minutes to 15 minutes, 97% of the time. We set that goal. We were able to achieve that and sustain it. The key is sustaining that level of performance as you grow the business. So that was what we were trying to do. We had some pretty good numbers. We wanted to improve on that, but more importantly, as we grew, we wanted to ensure that we were able to sustain or improve those key measures as we grew the business, and which we've been able to do.
Okay. So what other types of things were you able to do with that data that you're now collecting, which I'm assuming there was no easy way to get to that data before, but now you've got all of this data. So how were you able to use that? Well,
I mean, some of the data that we were able to use was, people, we have payout amounts that we operate on. So a windshield, labor time may be a certain amount. CallFinder gives us the opportunity to sort of gauge: is there an increase? Is the industry asking for more and more money? And so we were able to sort of extract that from CallFinder results, and the people were able to give us, the agents were able to give us, hey, there's a trend. We're seeing an increase in per claim payout because of these responses, and a lot of that we found through the scorecards. We also get a lot of suggestions from our customer base about, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you offer this kind of warranty on your vehicles? We feed that to our marketing department just as another source of information in terms of where's the industry, where's the consumer going, what are they looking for, what kinds of coverages do they want. So we have a very good relationship with our marketing department to feed them some of these trends that we see, and we can obviously aggregate some of those trends using this tool rather easily.
Okay. So Cliff, talking about the scorecards and setting things up, and I heard Frank say that your team was there to help them through this. So if you can share how long something like this takes to set up with scorecards, and what are the things that people need to pay attention to when they're setting up scorecards?
Great. Wow. That's an excellent question. So there's two paths that run parallel. And actually, you know what? Let me answer the question first. It takes about 200 hours. And, that may sound onerous, but if you, divide that by just a single person, that's 5 weeks. The reality of the process is it takes a little bit longer. Could be 6 weeks, could be 7 weeks, could be 8 weeks. It really depends on the complexity of the business processes or QA processes or CX processes the business is trying to automate. And it's really interesting. It actually surprises me, and I think people would be disappointed when they see this marketing material out there about how analytics can, quick time to value. You'll be up and running in 2 weeks. Well, yeah, you'll be up and running, but to your real question, how quick can you start evaluating agents? It's going to be, probably 5 to 6 or 8 weeks. Now, having said that, it's not just people are sitting around, or the customer is sitting around, the CallFinder client is sitting around waiting for results. Scorecards are a series of, as Frank pointed out, a series of evaluation criteria or metrics. And as our process is unfolding with the client, they're part and parcel of the process. They're giving us the initial reporting that we're automating for them. And as those individual categories and scores are starting to evolve, we share those with the clients. You're getting results very, very quickly, but in a full-blown way, 100%, telephony integration and scorecard delivery. You're really looking at, a good solid 200 hours of labor from our part. And I just want to add one more thing to that. Again, it goes to sort of what I think is really a lot of hype in the market about speed to value. Sure, again, you can get value almost immediately by just having automated categories just out of a library to, how's the greeting going? Some really basic stuff. That's all good and wonderful. But the simple truth is that it's a tool set. Speech analytics is a tool set that needs to be molded to the particular client's business processes and scorecards. And that takes a little bit of time. But again, that's where we recognize really early on that having an analyst with the client from business discovery through to implementation and ongoing support is absolutely critical. So I know that's kind of a long-winded answer with lots of parts, but the expectation is when you engage with a vendor, you're really going to start getting all of your results out probably in about, I would say 5 to 8 weeks, depending on complexity.
Okay. What level person do you need, or does an organization need? Or Frank, maybe you can answer this as well. Is it a technical person, business analyst, someone that understands the processes the customer goes through, combination? Do you put a team together? What do you think? Okay,
I'll take that. I mean, we used I I really needed someone that really understood the business that could help. And again, we partnered with an analyst from CallFinder, but who provided most of that technical background. So that was not really the issue. The issue was really isolating what we wanted done, what we wanted the scorecards to look like, what we wanted to focus on. So it was really someone that really understood how the school book solution for a first notice of loss should take place. And that's how you start, and then you just kind of work from there.
Okay. So it sounds like you really need to have your ducks in a row, know what you want to do before you would endeavor in this, to put in this kind of application. Would that be fair?
Absolutely. That we knew where we needed to go. We just needed, as Cliff pointed out, some a tool to be able to get that. And CallFinder gives us that critical tool that sort of gets us. And again, we get a chance to review a lot more phone calls than we did previously, and really isolate where the trends or where the breakdown occurred, and then isolate or provide attention to those areas that need most attention.
Okay. You're talking about phone. I don't know if you're using text analysis, and if you're not, Cliff, is text analysis also available?
Yeah, thank you. That's great tee up, Sherry. Yes. As I mentioned earlier, we have two different technologies that actually index the audio for extremely accurate results, but also we're converting that audio into text, so you can analyze that text and actually see what's going on in the call. So absolutely. And obviously, analyzing text gives rise to lots of different channels. I mean, omnichannel has been sort of a buzzword for a number of years now, and by having both indexing and transcription available, it opens up the door to all of those channels, not just email. So in order of use and interest in the industry today, or in call centers today, obviously voice is still the predominant channel.
Okay.
And the others are email, chat, social, not so much, but depending on the business, a CPG company, consumer products company, that could be a big one.
Okay, good. Well, we seem to run out of time. Again, there was no demo with this particular webinar. We wanted to kind of set the table and let you know what speech analytics could do and what a company is able to do, and what some of their challenges were and how they were able to fix some of those challenges. And on August 13th, we invite you to look at how this works. The link is up in chat. You can always, and I am going to chat my email address, and you can always, if you can't copy this down, you can send me a message. I'll make sure we get you the link in the survey, and we always encourage you to fill out those surveys. If you want a link to register, go ahead and send that in the comment section. We'll make sure you get it. Also, you can always go on to CRM Exchange under Webcast, and you will get that link as well. So at this point, we went a little bit over. We hope to see you on August 13th. Thank you, Frank. It was a great story. Thank you to Cliff and CallFinder, and we hope to see you on August 13th. Thank you.